Okay, we're live. Or so we're told. Closing questions.
So could you have you had any closing questions? You good?
Oh, you guys went easy on me today.
I don't think we were so easy on you, but still.
Well, come on, nobody has something juicy that they want to sink their teeth into and watch me flounder.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What question would make you flounder?
I don't know. I'm not going to tell you.
Yossi, you have a question for Hanan?
On what?
On anything.
Good question.
Are we being recorded? It all depends on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're being recorded.
But don't worry, I'm sure the recording will be heavily edited. There was a lot of dead time.
Okay, so we're live. Okay, good. Okay, so we're back live on. Could you just repeat the answer you gave to the question about the snake? Is that?
I'm sorry, I can't repeat it because I wasn't paying attention.
No,
So what I understand the question, first of all, I would say this is presumptuous of me because the question is really should be aimed at the teacher who gave over this teaching. But my mind, simply put, what I said was that it seemed that, okay, so the question, can you reread the question?
To what extent is the snake's impregnation of Adam mean that we have a bit of snake DNA in our bodies today?
That wasn't the question.
Okay.
But okay, that's a new question. The question before was about how Rabbi Basha said that the cells of the body regenerate every 7 years.
That's right.
And this is an expression of the toxins of the snake, right? That was the question. And somehow that was tied in with the garment of Adam. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we recorded that, thank God. So I refer you to the recording for that. You want to know what does it mean that we were infected with the Zuhamata Nachash?
That's it.
Okay, that means that the Nachash, basically, thematically, simply, represents evil in the world, and fundamentally, human nature was compromised as a result of our engagement with the snake, which is just another way of saying the fallout of eating from the Eitz Hadat, Tov Vara, which means that the Zuamat of the Nachash is the corruption of the human experience, how we have something in us that fights us from being able to meet the world on the level of reality in a true, open, honest engagement with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what we take for granted as human nature today in the Yetzer Hara, etc. That's what the toxins of the snake mean on a down-to-earth level. Was that acceptable? Was that...
yeah.
Do I need to... Okay. Beseder.
Okay, so I think we're going to let you...
Okay. Guys, I have to tell you, prepare your questions next time ahead of time. Hopefully, Shlomo Gatzi, God bless him, will give us a heads up, and you can, I don't know, prepare book reports for me and detailed questions, and we could make this really stimulating and exciting. Wishing everybody a Chodesh Tov Mevarach, Shavua Tov, Besurot Tovot, and continued success.
Amen. Chazak u'baruch.
Yes.
My wife and I,
Here's the good question. Yeah.
we're 7 years old. We just turned 7 years old.
Mazal tov.
Thank you.
You should grow more and more and get more and more sikuk hadefesh, that means satisfaction, and in your holy service with God and with the Jewish people and living in Eretz Yisrael. You should manage grow.
Just
Continue.
one thing.
Amen.
We're talking about Mashiach in the north now. Yeah.
I don't think nobody asked me.
So,
That was an earlier question. Oh,
did I miss it?
Yeah, it was to Shmuel.
Oh, was it? Okay, good. By the way, everybody quotes it. I don't understand why, because the Gemara says that Eliyahu is supposed to present him first in the Beit Din in Tiberia, and there's all kinds of drashot about Tiberia, Tabor, Haaretz, etc. But Dafka in Tzfat, that must I don't know where that comes from.
that's the whole issue. It's very
Tzfat,
But the Zohar says 3 times.
Dafka Tzfat,
It says, but Allah the Galim, the land of
right?
Galim.
Which includes Tiberia, right? Would you say that? Yeah.
Because Sajid Gaon says Galil Elyon. Oh no, he says Harei Galil.
Maybe it says Zelu Matzeh because we had Safon in the Chafat Arah.
But you're right, Tveria is the base. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, that's the base.
Right.
And Yisham Atidim Mikael,
Right.
that's the base for the tradition in the Galil. afterward, Bekat Al-Be'er, and then it moved to Tzfat. It moved to Tzfat when we started becoming strong.
And the whole legend of something of Yom Miklat, and the greatest, the Shekhinah is, the Galut is,
That's a legend, that's, you don't know the name. You don't know the name of Tzfat of the Bible. It could be Katan al-Iri, but it's not Kiddush.
it's not the Mishnah and Rosh Hashanah.
We know with it. Mishnah Elki.
Okay, wait, it's not one of the places in the Mishnah and Rosh Hashanah that talks about the Sea Masot.
No.
Yossi, come here so people can see you.
Not the Mishnah Rosh Hashanah. It's not Beit Batim, it's not about that.
You familiar with the Torah about Tzfat? Is Bashkiva B'Moshavlo and Kiyama Keska and all that stuff.
Okay,
That's my favorite stuff, but that's not rooted in. Okay, have fun.
I'm an archaeologist, but I know.
Come, Yossi, come.
So before we start,
Yeah.
I have this.
Yeah, great. I wanted to start with that.
I want to show one thing historical, and then we'll start going into him
Okay.
and his relationship with Rabbi Yosef Karo. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's fine. But we'll just see if there's any questions first. If not, we'll go straight
Questions
into it.
to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So welcome to another edition of the Alshech Academy, and today we are starting our fundraising campaign. This is in the next 48 hours, we are inviting the whole world to come and join us and to donate to supporting our Alshech Academy and to help us to sustain this academy going forward. And we have a very beautiful offer, and that is this book of Yossi Stefanski, he wrote this book on the field of holy apples. It's about the Ari Ashkenazi synagogue here in Tzfat. It's a beautiful book with great descriptions and pictures and
The biography of the Ari.
the biography of the Ari.
Small.
We are offering this book digitally to anyone who subscribes onto our website to receive our weekly newsletter. We will be sending you an electronic version of this book, which Yossi has written. It's worth 120 shekels in the shops
For a hard copy at
for a
the
hard
shul.
copy at the shul,
So you'll have to come to the shul itself to get a hard
And-
copy or a digital copy.
or a digital copy.
At home.
So you'll get a personal digital copy at home. All you need to do is to go into our website, which is alshechacademy.org, and register there to receive our newsletter. And we will send you an electronic version of this book. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm looking forward to getting my copy of that. This is really very, very exciting indeed. So we have Yossi Stefanski here, and before we start any of the lessons, we welcome any questions you might have, either on the chat or if you text me a question, we'd be happy to receive it. In the meantime, could you just tell us a little bit about this prophecy that the Mashiach will come riding on a donkey through Tzfat? I mean, can you just share us a little bit of that?
In 2 minutes or an hour?
In 3 minutes. In 3 minutes.
That's why we're here, Shlomo.
Exactly.
Okay. First, I have to say that the tradition that the Mashiach will appear in the Galil is one of the main reasons, maybe the main reason, why Jews came to Tzfat 500 years ago, 400 years ago. Okay? So where does this belief begin? So first of all, for all I know, I think I have a lecture on this in YouTube on this also, but in Hebrew. The basis for this, in my belief, is the Talmud, the Gemara, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, the tractate Rosh Hashanah. I think Lamed Gimel, I think the 33rd, I don't know Shas by heart, but that I know, what I remember. And there, they're talking about Tveria, okay? The stages, the different stations of the Sanhedrin. Just now, there's a new 1-hour video movie coming out of the Sanhedrin. I sent it to you, Shlomo, a whole new video in Hebrew, though, on the Sanhedrin. And Tveria was the last station for the Sanhedrin in the time of the Talmud, or after the Talmud, the time of the Goanim, until it moved there in the 10th century to Ramle and to Yerushalayim, and then to Lebanon in Tyre. And I believe it finished up here in Tzfat, when the last Gaon, I think we talked about that, the last Gaon in the 13th century was seen here in Tzfat. So in the Gemara, it's talking about the stations of the Sanhedrin, from Yerushalayim to Yavne, from Yavne to Usha, from Usha to Shfar'am, from Shfar'am to Beit Sha'alim, from Beit Sha'alim to Tzipori, and at about 220 CE, okay, and after the time of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who finished up the Mishnah, it moved to Tveria. And in Tveria, we have the great rabbis, the great Talmudists, Rabbi Yochanan v'Resh Lakish. They were in Tveria. And the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, was compiled there. Okay, the name Jerusalem was given to the Talmud to give respect to Jerusalem. But it happened, it was in Tveria. And Rabbi Yochanan describes the stations of the Sanhedrin, and he says, now we're in Tveria. The Sanhedrin came to Tveria, and it's a low place. Low because geographically it's low. You know, Shlomo, it's a kilometer below us. We have to go down elevation 1,000 meters down to get to Tveria, to the Kinneret. So we go down, it's a low place, but Rabbi Yochanan said, from here, from this low place, we come up. And then he said, from Tveria, umisham atidin ligael. From Tveria, in the future, the Geula, the redemption, will re-begin in Tveria. If you ask me, that's the basis for all the further, later on, traditions of the Mashiach appearing in the Galil. So actually, the tradition begins in Tveria.
And not
And
Tzfat.
then we'll get to Tzfat. But the tradition, this is the basis from the Gemara. Okay, and afterward, they believed that the Mashiach would appear first near Tveria in the valley of Arbel. The Arbel Valley, beautiful valley. Okay, and that's mentioned in the sources of the 6th, 7th century, the Piyutim. Okay, in the poems, in the songs, and even in the Kinot. Okay, and so we have the Tveria Valley of Arbel, Begat Arbel tradition, that the Mashiach, which Mashiach though? Mashiach ben Yosef or Mashiach ben David? And then we have other compilations. Of course, we have the Zohar. In the Zohar, it's mentioned 3 times that the Mashiach will appear in the land of Galilee. It doesn't say Tzfat. Okay, but the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is our neighbor here in Meron. And the Jews started believing this, the Galil is here in Tzfat. This is because the Jews started coming to Tzfat, Galil Elyon. Rav Sadia Gaon, and there's also another midrash that mentions, Rav Sadia Gaon mentions the mountains of Galilee, Harei Galil. One of the midrashim mentions Galil Elyon, I think, Upper Galilee. But only really in the, I would say, 15th, 16th century, even before the 6th, even before the time of Yosef Kar, before the great spiritual explosion that I talk about in the 16th century, people started coming to Tzfat. Tzfat was the most important Jewish community. It was the biggest city in all of Israel then, bigger than Yerushalayim in the 14th, 15th, 16th centuries, until Yerushalayim, until Suleiman built the wall around Yerushalayim. Tzfat was even bigger. The Jews started coming to Tzfat. Next to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, according to the Jewish tradition, and they believed that the Mashiach will appear here. So the traditions moved from place to place in Galilee, and Tzfat became the most important Jewish center. Right? We're talking about that 500 years, 600 years ago. And there's a date. We have different years, like 1540, we talked about that. And people started coming to Tzfat believing that the Mashiach will appear here. Besides that, there's also, this is for a whole section in itself. We're going to get to this sometime. Let me just finish up in saying, Meron also has to do with this, because in Sanhedrin, in the tractate of Sanhedrin, in the Talmud, we also have a story of the Mashiach waiting in a city, or in the gates of a city right near the cave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So which city is that? Meron. Okay? And even though in the uncensored Talmud of Sanhedrin it says Rome, but here in Tzfat they learn from the censored Gemara, Shas, and there it just says the gates of the city, and we're talking about Eliyahu Navi telling Rabbi Shua ben Levi, go to the gate of the city and meet the Mashiach there. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is in Meron. And so this also led to the belief, until today, the elders of Tzfat believe that the Mashiach is waiting in Meron underneath the lintel of the ancient synagogue. Maybe we'll set that for a lecture in itself. And that's the reason why today we're here. Meron is a neighborhood of ours. Okay, we can walk there. 4 hours from here, walking through Nachal Amut, you get to Meron. And there the lintel of the synagogue is still standing. And every time I go there, okay, I imagine the Mashiach is there, waiting to be called to come to us to Tzfat. So here you see how I think this tradition developed.
Okay. So please carry on with.
Okay, so we're going back to our theme. We're talking history. We're talking about the background of the great rabbis who lived here. And Shlomo, we're going to talk one day about the wondrous women of Tzfat.
Oh, very good.
Okay, there are today wondrous women today. Well, I'll say that for my wife. Today also there are wondrous women of Tzfat, but we'll get to that also. But now we're talking about the great rabbis, well known. We talked about Rabbi Yosef Karo, who was here 40 years, our neighbor here right behind the wall here.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the Alshech also. He deserves a full lecture.
Amen.
Rabbi Moshe Alshech and this unique place. But before that, I thought maybe I'll show now and then like something having to do with the history of Tzfat that I think I haven't shown yet. I mentioned that Tzfat, 1,500 years ago, had also a Jewish community here, one of the 24 communities of the Kohanim, of the priests. And I like to show this picture of an ancient inscription in Hebrew, dated to about 1,500 years ago. It says Tzfat. Okay? This is an inscription mentioning the 24 priestly families that were in the Galilee about 1,500 years ago. The time of the Talmud, maybe a little after. There are big arguments exactly on the historical background for this list. But Tzfat is one of them. Okay, we had the priestly family of Yakim Fashchur. 2 names. We don't know if they're 2 families or one big family with 2 names. We don't know. Yakim Fashchur. They were here in Tzfat about 1,500, 1,600 years ago. But this inscription mentioning Tzfat was not found in Tzfat. It's still in Yemen, in Timan,
Wow.
okay? East of Tzana, in Beit el Khadir. It was discovered about 70, 80 years ago. Okay? It's still there. It's the longest inscription we have in archaeology, in epigraphy. It's incised on stone. It's today part of a mosque. I wasn't there. I'm dreaming of going to see it, but I think there's no chance of going in the next, I don't know how many years. Not with an Israeli passport and not with an American passport, because it's under the government by the Houthim, those guys in northern Yemen. So Tzfat, the earliest or the most ancient inscription mentioning Tzfat in archaeology is this one in Yemen. Okay, and I'm dreaming for years of bringing it here to Tzfat. So in the meantime, what could I do, Shlomo? I printed this out from the book that published it, and I gave it to the Yemenite synagogue in Tzfat to put on the wall, and it's there. You know, Yemenite synagogue right behind my house. And Rabbi Yoav Nadav put it on the wall. It says Tzfat in the Yemenite synagogue of Tzfat. So that's something in history to remind us that Tzfat has a long history, 4,000 years old, and the Jewish presence here is 2,100 years old consecutive. We talked about that. Okay, so now let's get back to Rabbi Yosef Karo and somebody who was here with him for 2 years, and that's the Ari, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria. People ask me, I'm going to show you, there are many, many books on these great rabbis on the 16th century of Tzfat. I think mainly in Hebrew. Maybe I'll show you the two books that I like to use in English. One, the cover already is torn, got many years. Sapphic Spirituality. Okay? Okay, it was edited by Lawrence Fine, Professor Lawrence Fine. There's a preface by Rabbi Louis Jacobs from England, right? The chief rabbi of England, he was, right, of Britain. And so this came out maybe 30 years ago, but it has also short biographies of the rabbis. And I use this a lot. There's also a book put out also about 30 years ago, Safed the Mystical City, by David Rossoff. Okay, I think he wrote it for youngsters. But first of all, we're all youngsters, right?
He wrote the book on Jerusalem as well.
Yes. And I don't know him personally. He wrote it 30 years ago. I hope he's still around. I'd like to meet him one day. It's a very fine book. It's good for everybody. It gives a nice history of Tzfat, Jewish history. And these are the two books that I like to delve into. There are also academic books, of course, like I think I already mentioned. There's a book by Professor Vorbalowski in English on Rabbi Yosef Karo. The other ones I showed you last time are in Hebrew. So what I want to do is maybe I'll start out with just a few reminders. You see, we don't have a biography of the Ari, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria, like we have on Rabbi Yosef Karo, because no one wrote a biography on him when he was alive. And no one wrote anything about him hardly when he was alive, only after his death. The Ari was here only for 2 years, 1570 to 1572. And only afterward did people realize who he was, except for maybe the 30, 40 students he had around him who were listening to him, and they didn't really understand what he said. Not everybody understood what he had to say. Rabbi Chaim Vital, for years and years, was frustrated. Was he remembering correctly what he heard? Did he understand correctly? And When Reb Chaim Vital, for about a year, he was like with him all the time, listening to him. He himself writes that he used to forget the things that he heard from the Ari and didn't understand. So the Ari took him to Tveria, and they went on a boat, and they went to the well of Miriam that the Ari identified, and he gave him water from between the pillars of the well of Miriam. He gave Rabbi Chaim Vital a cup to drink, and he said, now you're going to understand what I'm talking about, because now you're drinking the waters of the well of Miriam. Okay, I think I identified the site where the Ari identified the well of Miriam, but it's on the shore of Tveria. It's not in the middle of the lake.
It's
Okay.
on the shore?
It's on the shore. Sure. It's on the shore. And that's Rabbi Chaim Vital's description, not mine. So it's not a well, but since he describes pillars, I found the pillars. They're still there. And they were excavated last year by Haifa University. So we can talk about that by itself, but I'm just wanting to show how when he talked, the Ari talked, it wasn't easy to understand him. He was very charismatic. He knew all the languages. He knew the Ari was born in Israel. He was born in Yerushalayim. So of course he knew Hebrew. He knew Arabic. He knew Palestinian Arabic. He knew Egyptian Arabic. And he knew Yiddish. He knew Yiddish because his father was from Germany. His father was an Ashkenazi. That's why he's called the Ari Ashkenazi, or Ashkenazi Rabbi Yitzchak, or Eloki Rabbi Yitzchak, the God given, or the Ari Adonenu Rabbi Yitzchak also. So his father was European, so he knew Yiddish, but his mother was Sfaradia, so he knew Ladino. He knew all the languages. Is this a picture of the Ari? I may have shown this once. I don't remember. I'll show it again. Is this a portrait of the Ari? It just could be. Okay, I reprinted it in my book. It was discovered in an old book by Yecheskel Meiri here in Tzfat, about 40 years ago. He printed it in one of the pamphlets he wrote on Tzfat, on the synagogues of Tzfat. He doesn't write exactly where he found this, in what book. And so no one knows today where he found this picture. And if anybody will find this picture in that old book, that'll be very sensational. Okay, so if you find an old book here in Tzfat and you see a picture like this, tell me immediately. Okay, in the meantime, we put a picture of it in the Ari Ashkenazi synagogue. And in my book, I wrote, it could be a picture of him. It seems, by the way, he's a young man here, right? He doesn't have gray hair. He passed away before he was 40. Also, in my book, I reprinted a picture of his handwriting, okay, where he wrote, this is published already, this is found in the Geniza in Cairo. And we have his signature here, given of the Ari, this from Egypt. So we have here and there a few documents with his handwriting, okay, but he didn't have a chance to write at all. He talked, he told people, he looked at people, and he was here for 2 years, but it took time. I think 1 year with concentrated studying and learning he had with his certain group of students. He went from shul to shul. Okay, he came here to the Alshech and listened to the sermons of the Alshech. Okay, and the Ari Yitzhak Luria, born in 1534 in Yerushalayim, so he's a Yerushalmi, he's a Tzaba. He was born in Israel. But when he was about 8 years old or so, his father passed away. And so his mother took him to Egypt to her brother, the Sfaradi. And that's where the Ari grew up. And we don't have exactly the facts of what happened as he was growing up. In fact, most of the material we have is in literature. They call this hagiographic literature, legendary literature. We have stories on the Ari written about him after his death. And in these stories, we hear about him going to Egypt. That's fact. I think many of the stories here are based on historical fact. He went to Egypt and grew up there in Egypt. He learned in the yeshiva there. The great Rabbi David ben Zimra was in Egypt then. He studied by him. He had a colleague, friend, chavruta, or maybe teacher called Harav Betzalel Ashkenazi, who wrote the compilation Shita Mekuvetzet, which people who learned in yeshiva, who learn today in yeshiva, study that when they're learning Talmud. The Shita Mekuvetzet, Harav Betzalel Ashkenazi. So the Ari wasn't the only Jew in Egypt then. Egypt was then a very important center for Jews. It was for many, many years, even until the middle of the 20th century. Rav Avad Yosef was in Egypt. He was a rabbi there in Egypt. So he grew up in Egypt. And in the end, he married his first cousin, the daughter of his uncle. We don't know her name, like usual. I would love to know her name. If somebody finds her tombstone next to her husband in the cemetery here with a name on it, great sensation. We don't know her name. So he married his first cousin, and she was a Sfaradia, okay? She was from Spanish descent. And that means that their children are 3/4 Spanish descent, Sfaradim. He himself is half Ashkenazi. That's part of his greatness. He was a little of everybody. He was partly Sfaradi, partly Ashkenazi. We'll talk more about that. I'm friends with a descendant of the Ari, who there's a whole genealogy of the family of the Ari, but there are things that aren't for certain. Like I told you, we don't know the name of the wife, but we do know that it seems that he had 3 daughters and 1 son. We have the names of of 2 of the 3 daughters, I think. Okay, and but I think I'm going too much into. We'll go back. We'll get into his biography, his family, and his descendants, because today we have a big Luria family. Luria is his family name from his father. Today we have a big family, Luria, all over the world. There are thousands. We have here in Tzfat. Like we have Karo here in Tzfat, we have Luria also in Tzfat. And members of both families are in my shul. I think we're the only shul in the world that has members of Luria and Karo together.
Wow.
Okay. Boaz, you know them, even you come to our shul. And we have them there. But what I want to do is, because I want to go back to Rabbi Yosef Karo. And Rabbi Yosef Karo, in 1570, when the Ari came, Rabbi Yosef Karo was already 82 years old. The Ari was about 36, 37 years old. Okay, so the Ari could be Rabbi Yosef Karo's grandson. And Rabbi Yosef Karo is the great Rosh Yeshiva. He's at the height of his career. He lives right next door. He's the head of the yeshiva here, Bet Yosef. And when the Ari comes, he comes quietly. He starts learning at the yeshiva of the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. The Rabbi Moshe Cordovero passes away about a half a year after the Ari comes, 1570. And in the legendary stories we read about, the Ramak pointed and knew who this person was already, the Ari. And according to one of the stories, when the Ramak passed away, the Ari was one of the people going with the Aron, right, with the coffin. He went down, and Ramak beforehand told all his students, there's one person who will know exactly where to bury me. And one person will see the Amud Anan, will see the cloud of Hashem going before the Aron, and he'll know exactly where to bury me. And the Ari crept up quietly, and before they buried him, he said, no, not here, somewhere else. And that's how people knew that here is the inheritor of the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. And that's a fact. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was the great Kabbalist before. He wrote an encyclopedia on the Kabbalah, on the Zohar. And the Ari came, and he changed things a little bit, okay? He didn't cancel out the Ramak, Khalila, but he added on new ideas, okay? The idea of tzimtzum, okay? And so the Ari came, and he did things quietly. We have hardly things that are written about him, in fact, when he was here. Everything was written after. Although, and we'll get to this not today, but we have a eulogy, one hesped given at the halvaya, okay, the levaya of the Ari, 1572, by Rabbi Shmuel Ozida. And we'll talk about that. Okay, it's about 30 pages or so of a eulogy of somebody giving a hesped on the Ari without the stories that we read about him after. Okay, so it's interesting to see what the hesped about him is before all the other stories come out. Okay, but I want to get back to Rabbi Yosef Karo and the Ari. And I don't know how much time I have. How much time do I have? 10 minutes? Okay. Rabbi Yosef Karo, again, was 82 years old, and the Ari was about 36, 37, and they met. But we don't have descriptions how they sat and they learned together. No. It all depends what you read from. If you read, for instance, from the Magid Mesharim that was written by Rabbi Yosef Karo. If you remember, I mentioned the Magid Mesharim, the mystical diary of Rabbi Yosef Karo, who wrote and copied down the conversations he had with the Magid, with the angel mentor he continued to talk with in his house here behind the wall. In this book, Magid Mesharim, okay, the Magid tells Rabbi Yosef Karo when in Heishin Chavtet, that's 1569, on the day of the Brit, okay, the Brit of his son Yehuda. Remember, I told you that he married a young lady, Ashkenaziyah, and she bore him a son in 1569, 1570, that time, in Elul of Shin Chavtet, and there was the Brit of his son. Rabbi Yosef Karo is 82 years old, and he's at the Brit of his son. And the Magi tells him, he's telling him, I'm doing good things. You have good things coming up. You're printing soon your Kesef Mishneh book. You're printing soon your Avkat Rochel book. And you will be a big Kabbalist. You will delve into the wisdom of Kabbalah more than the Rosh. Resh, Aleph, Shin. So the Maggid is telling Yosef Karo, the great halachist, he's 82 years old, you're going to be a big Kabbalist, even more than the Rosh. Who is the Rosh? Resh, Aleph, Shin. We don't know. Resh, it could be Rabbi Ashkenazi, Rav Ashkenazi, the Ari. In other words, he's telling him, Yosef Karo, you're going to be a bigger Kabbalist than the Ari. Or maybe Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rosh. Or maybe Rabbi El-Kabetz Shimon. Shlomo, sorry, Rabbi El-Kabetz, we don't know. It could be, he just read, it's written Rosh, Resh Aleph Shin. You're going to be a bigger Kabbalist than the one in Meron. And that one, he will learn from you Kabbalah. That's what the Maggid is telling Rabbi Yosef Karo. Lachen chazak ve'amat v'chulei v'chulei. That's in the Maggid Mesharim. But in the Shivchei Ha'ari, written on the Ari, it says the opposite. In the Shivchei Ha'ari book, okay, the legends on the Ari written about 50 years after the Ari passed away, it describes here Rabbi Yosef Karo. He describes Rabbi Yosef Karo, the great Rabbi Yosef Karo, who has an angel mentor talking with him. But in the Shivchei Ari, it says, but Rabbi Yosef Karo will not be would not have more wisdom than the Ari. He won't be bigger with wisdom than the Ari. This is in the Shivchei Ha'ari book, okay? And then it describes here that, how do we know? Because when Rabbi Yosef Karo wanted to learn with the Ari, Kabbalah, the Ari said, no, it's not for you. You're Ramak. Rabbi Yosef Karo wanted to anyway. And when they started studying together, what happened? Rabbi Yosef Karo fell asleep. The same story with the Alshech, you know? It's the same story with the Alshech. But we'll talk about with the Alshech also. So here in Shivchei Ha'ari, we have a story of Rabbi Yosef Karo wanting to learn Kabbalah with the Ari, but falling asleep. Let me remind you that Yosef Karo was in his 80s then, and the Ari was only about 36, 37. That's the second story. And we're going to finish up. That's from Shivchei Ha'ari, okay? And the third story, short one, in Shivchei Ha'ari, is amazing. Because this story tells us something historical. It tells us that in 1607, I mentioned this last time, in 1607, Rabbi Shlomo Shlumil came from Europe and interviewed people here in Tzfat and wrote down the stories of the people in Tzfat, telling him about what they know about the Ari who passed away 35 years ago. Okay? And one of the people who was interviewed was the wife of Rabbi Yosef Karo, the young lady. She's an old lady by now, 1607, after her husband passed away in 1575. And she tells Rabbi Shlomo Shlomil the story that one day after she was his wife, okay, which means in the later days of Rabbi Yosef Karo, Rabbi Yosef Karo went to the celebration, to the Seudat Mitzvah of his son getting engaged to the daughter of the Ari. Not the little son that was just born, but Rabbi Yosef Karo had an older son, maybe Shlomo, who got engaged to the daughter of the Ari. The daughter of the Ari may have been 7, 8, 9, or 10, or 13 years old, not more, okay? She was only getting engaged. They didn't get married yet. And Rabbi Yosef Karo came back from the engagement party, and he started telling his wife, you can't believe what I just heard now. What I just heard from the Ari, Ken, is something no one anybody else in the world ever heard. But I'm afraid of him. I'm afraid that his time is coming soon.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's what happened. They already passed away. So we have a story here of the engagement between the son of the Rabbi Shlomo of Rabbi Yosef Karo and one of the daughters of the Ari. Were they only engaged and didn't get married? So we'll keep that for the next time. Because were they in-laws? Okay, according to this story, at least they got engaged. So we'll keep you in suspense until next time about that story. So here a little bit about the relationship between these two great rabbis here in
So it's
Tzfat.
interesting because you said that the Yosef Karo had about 200 students,
In his
but the
yeshiva.
Ari had only about 40, you're saying?
See, the Ari didn't have an established yeshiva here. He went to a certain place a little away, somewhere in the Jewish quarter, maybe a little outside of the Jewish quarter, the Beit HaYisger. He made a little Beit Midrash there. But for a while at least, he brought the families of his students to there also. And according to one of the stories, the wives used to fight each other, kacha, and didn't work out so well. Rabbi Yosef Karo had his yeshiva with 200, by the way, 200 students. That's an historical fact, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, 200, that's not, if we would have written 1,000 students, I would suspect. You wrote 200 students, that's fine. There were yeshivot here in Tzfat with 200 students. So that's fact, but that's in 1567, a little before, by the description of the Yemenite to Tzfat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Chazak u'baruch.
And I would like to request, if you go to various.
Wait, it's not recorded.
Yeah, it's not recorded there.
It's
but
recorded
still,
here, okay,
Still
fine.
live, yeah.
Please, if you have room, take me with you. I'd love to see Miriam's stone.
With
the
the well of Miriam.
It's a
I
stone.
mean,
The well of Miriam, you don't see a well today. As a matter of fact, if we go there now, because the Kinneret is so full today,
Yeah.
the water is probably covering the pillars on the shore. Rabbi Chaim Vital describes in one of the descriptions, not in his book, but in Rabbi Yaakov Tzemach's book, he writes a description of Rabbi Chaim Vital going there, and he describes pillars on the shore. And so in my archaeological survey of Tveria, okay, I found pillars on the shore of Tveria, and it's the only piece of shore on Tveria that's not taken over by proprietors, by people, to make money. It's an open shore in the southern part of Tveria, near Chamei Tveria. And there you can still see the pillars. And these pillars are described by Reb Chaim Vital. That's where the Ari brought him. So I suggested these are the pillars where the Ari gave him water between the pillars to drink from. And the Ari said, "You're going to be fine now. You can understand me because now you just drank water from the well of Miriam." So since then, about 15, 20 years ago, I've gotten tens of phone calls from people. Boaz, like you're asking me, take me to there. Why? Because according to tradition, anybody drinking from this water, it'll help them heal things. If you have a pain here or a pain here, and you drink the water from the well of Miriam, it'll help you heal the illness. So many people called me. A physicist from America, a Jewish physicist, called me from America, and he started explaining to me what that is, the well of Miriam. He's a nuclear physicist. He started explaining to me that like in a nuclear reactor, it whirls around, and if it whirls, it can move from place to place. And so he was explaining to me how the well of Miriam moved from place to place in the Kinneret, because in the Gemara and the Talmud, the well of Miriam is described in the Kinneret itself, in the sea, not on the shore.
Rabbi Chaim Vital wrote, you stand on a small hill looking towards the hot springs and the palm trees, you can see the stone down in there.
Okay, that's what they told you. That's what the tour guide told you in Tveria.
No, that's in the book. That's in the book.
Okay, I'll tell you, there are people in Tveria with boats who take out people by boat to the middle of the Kinneret. They say, here's the well of Miriam. And from such incitement, right, the people jump out of the boat, okay, hoping not to drown, just to drink a little bit of the water in the middle of the lake. But what can I do? Rabbi Chaim Vital describes that event with the pillars on the shore. What happened when the Kinneret goes up? The water goes in and covers the pillars.
Yeah.
And you can see the pillars a little bit, like now. I haven't been there lately. I haven't been there like 2-3 weeks. But now the water is so high, the water is now maximum level. I think they're going to open the dam now soon.
There's not a guy in there.
Okay, but they haven't opened it yet. I heard they may open it if there'll be another hard big rain. They'll open the dam. So now the pillars are probably, at least part of them, are covered with water.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think it was in the 16th century.
Are those hot springs still there on the shore?
The hot springs are there all the time. The hot
Okay.
springs of Tveria, of course, but they're little on land, more on land in Tveria.
Well, it used, as you know, it used to be lower because when they built that dam and they covered up all the synagogues were right there in that area.
Okay. But now we're talking about a whole complicated situation. What was the level of the lake in ancient times?
Sure.
It fluctuated. And then when the dam is only 100 years, less than 100 years old, right? You're right. When the dam wasn't there, so the lake fluctuated all the time. It all depends. We had climate changes in the last few thousands of years.
Sure, but theoretically, it wouldn't have flooded the synagogues back then because even when it got full, it wouldn't flood the synagogues.
Okay.
But then they built the dam and now they're gone. Or
Okay.
they're underwater. That's my theory.
No. There's no synagogue today underwater.
Oh.
Okay. I did the survey around
Oh.
the Lake of Kinneret twice in low ebb.
Mhm.
Every time we got to low ebb, 1992, and then later on again we did it. My survey crew and we went around all of the lake and recorded all the antiquities that were uncovered after the water receded.
Mhm.
We found tens of sites, but no synagogues.
Oh.
There is one synagogue on the eastern part
Oh.
at Kursi that was dug out a few years ago, pretty recent. And they found an inscription there that mentions Tveria even. That there is one, actually. You're right, one, but on the eastern side of the lake, not in Tveria. You know, in Tveria, in Tveria proper, we only have one ancient synagogue discovered. We have two in Hamat, Tveria, where the hot springs are. There we have two synagogues, but they're away from the shore.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Hamad Chader.
Where?
Hamad Chader?
Hamat Tveria.
Oh,
Is also Hamat Gader.
yeah.
There we also have a synagogue.
Oh.
Okay? We have Hamat, the hot springs of Tveria,
Yeah.
and Hamat, the hot springs of Gader. Gader is Gadara today.
Could I find these places myself if I got on the bus and went over there?
I think so. If you write Be'er Miriam, Beer, Miriam, and my name, my last name, things will come out. Maybe you'll be able to get there by yourself. It's right on the shore there. If you know Tveria, right near the hot springs, right near the big hotel there, there's a square. There's not a square, there's a circle there with a menorah on it.
Hmm.
Okay, that menorah, that's a depiction of the menorah that was found in the excavations in 1921.
Oh.
Okay, so right there on the shore to the left, that's where it is.
Wow.
You said those pillars were excavated recently?
Maybe we can go to
Those pillars were excavated recently by Haifa University.
that. Wow.
I brought them there. And they have to do more excavation to understand what they're excavating.
Okay. Can you actually identify Miriam's, I mean, I heard her well is actually a stone because they took it with them when they went through the desert. So it wasn't a well, it was a stone.
Okay, that's, you see, that's not archaeology. Talk to me, archaeology.
Okay, as you know, they went through the desert and they had Miriam's well.
I
with them.
thought you were gonna ask, what's it doing in the middle of the Kinneret? It should be somewhere near Jericho.
Well, that's a fair question. I would have no answer for that.
I do.
But, oh,
Because the traditions of the Galileans in Tiberia were that Joshua and the tribes crossed into Canaan in the area of the Kinneret. Okay?
okay,
And that Jericho was identified by them at the southern tip of the Kinneret, and Mount Nebo was identified by them with Susita on the other side of the Kinneret. And that's the way they perceived the book of Joshua and how the children of Israel entered Canaan. That was the tradition of the Galileans. And so if they entered Canaan in the area of Tiberias, okay, so until Canaan, they had the water from the well. But after entering Canaan, they didn't need the well anymore.
yeah,
So well stayed in the Kinneret, according to their tradition.
that makes sense.
Okay, so we're talking about the traditions of the Galileans, okay, that were nurtured already from the time of the Talmud. The Be'er Miriam is mentioned already in the Talmud, in the Kinneret. They identified the mountain behind Tiberia as Mount Carmel.
Wow,
Okay, so we can talk about this, a whole
wow.
series of traditions. These same traditions identified Tzfat with Beit El.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
the way I found Miriam's well is I just Googled it on the internet.
Okay,
And then it said, Rabbi Chaim Batal said, you can stand on this short hill over by the hot springs and you can look down in the water on a calm day and you can see Miriam's well. It's a stone that actually looks like a grape. It has holes in it. And that was his description.
okay. If there was anything like that, it's covered up by a dump of stones and dirt opposite the hotel there. What I'm talking about is an archaeological site that you can see today. Okay? And that's all I could do. I found the site and I suggested the identification of these pillars with the description of Rabbi Chaim Vital. What was there before the hotels there started making, there's a hotel they took the shore and it's a private shore for them. So it's you don't see the original shoreline. The only original shoreline in Tveria is in the southern part of Tveria, of about 150 meters, 200 meters long, a strip of shore that for 26 years, I didn't let anybody touch it. Okay, but the other places already in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, private people took over parts of the shore and they built hotels on them. That's Tveria. But this strip of shore that you can see antiquities, there are also walls, ancient walls, and the pillars.
Wow.
I watched over it and I didn't let anybody do anything there for 26 years.
Good.
So at least we failed to save the other parts of the shore of Tveria, but at least that piece is left.
Very good. Chazak u'baruch.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bakasha.
And looking forward to seeing you next week. I'd love to get a hold of that book. Tzfat, yeah.
This one?
David Rozov, yes. But it's
Maybe
is it out of print?
it Uzan. Maybe the bookstore of Uzan. Uzan. Maybe he'll get it. Uzan. He's the head of the store owner. Okay. Shalom Uzan. Do you know where you buy vegetables, Yoram?
Yes.
Yoram vegetables?
Yes. Oh, next door on the
Right
left.
next door.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bookstore.
But it's in Hebrew. Hebrew bookstore.
I don't know. Maybe he has English books also,
Ugly.
or maybe in some other. Maybe in the Breslov store. Maybe I don't know. It's
Okay.
this not. It's not a Breslov book. I don't think so. But I don't know where to get it. But this is hard. This in England. Only. This.
Yeah.
I don't know where to get this. This I think came out. It's from London, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I said New York. I don't know. But I think Rabbi Jacobs, Lawrence Fine. I don't remember where he's from. Rabbi Jacobs used to be the chief rabbi, right? Remember, right?
Let me take
Okay.
a photograph.
Tov. We're recording? No, we're not.
It's live, but it's not. It's yeah. Okay.
I just want to know today. What's going on today in the afternoon?
We're going to do a.
You expect me to come? I mean,
If you'd like to come, you don't have to come. But
no, but yeah, you're not. You don't. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't have a job to do there, right?
no.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Bakasha.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
For those online,
Read the
we're
book.
just in time. Perfect.
The book.
Can I keep it here because I'm gonna keep on
Okay, but that's the
advertising?
only one I have now.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Don't worry. I will get it back to you.
Look, I sent you a picture of the covers.
Yeah, I saw that. But it's nothing like holding when you hold it.
I
on
know,
the camera.
but I have to send you the text. for you to
Yes.
send
Yes.
people,
Yes. Yes.
And you have to make a
That
list of the people.
Yeah,
That's
I
what he
will.
asked for, a list of people and
No
their names, the names of the people.
Well, I'm not sure that we can give him the. Anyway, we'll speak about it.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay.
Okay, we're on to our last class, which is going to be with Aaron Keller on Halachot. So welcome, Aaron. Just okay. Go ahead.
Kitzur Shulchan Rav Avadia, Hilchos Shabbos, Misha Chachas Lahatik. We're middle of the laws of lighting candles Erev Shabbos. One who forgot to light. Isha Shechashkol Averich Kutam Lakas Neres. A woman that forgot to make a bracha before she lit the candles. V'niskir be'emtzat laka. She remembered middle of the lighting. Chayla Averich Lahatik Ner Shel Shabbos. She can make the bracha right there on the spot. Lahatik Ner Shel Shabbos. She calls Shalom in Sama Mitzvah. As long as she has not finished the mitzvah, Choshev Shaper Efer Lasisan. Still considered as before she doing the mitzvah, and therefore she can still make the bracha. Minhu, however, even Lo Nizka Ad Shesimel had to call on Neis Hatlaka. She didn't remember to make the bracha until she finished lighting all the candles. Shuv Ein Lo Levarch, she should not make the bracha. And you don't make the bracha. She forgot to have the lights on in honor of Shabbos. This could be Ben Hashmoshes, and she remembered like Ben Hashmoshes, which is the time period before, as we've mentioned before, between Shkia and Tzais, when it's a suffix, it's a doubt if it's day or night. It's permitted for the tell to a guy to turn on the lights and to light the candles in honor of Shabbos. Flight the fair klal, and she should not make the bracha at all. Even shachal lahatlik neis Shabbos shel shemen v'shava. If she forgot to light candles of either wax or oil, v'achshma hayot, look for the light, electric light was on. Ein lo leimer l'gay lahatlik neis b'shemen or b'shava. And then she's not able to tell a guy to light the either wax or oil candles. Given bias ma'or, since there's light in the house, and to tell a guy to light the candles is a shvus which is forbidden. It's us to do so. Only in the case where there's no light at all, in such a case, is it permitted.
So just to understand, you're saying that if she forgot to put the light on,
Yeah.
Ben of Shmashot, after she's lit the candles,
She didn't light. No, she
didn't light the
she
candle.
didn't. She didn't have the light, electric light, or on, and she didn't light the candles either. None of them. Meaning, if she doesn't have anything, if no guy does anything, she can't do anything herself because it's after Shkia.
Yeah,
And if she doesn't have a guy do anything, then it'll be dark.
right.
So in that case, you could tell a guy to turn on the light, the electric light, and light the candles as well.
And she can light the candle.
Not her, the guy.
The
Good.
guy can light the candle for her.
Yeah.
How can he light the candle for her? He can't say
She could
bracha.
tell her. She needs light. It's dark in the house.
No,
So
but she can't say bracha.
No, that's right. That's why that's the Moran says. She should not make the bracha. But since it's no light at all, he could turn on the light and light the candles. But if there's already the electric light is already lit, but she's gonna have to light in the house, so then she can't tell the guy to light the candle.
I see.
Isha shechol leil tefilasa b'leil Shabbos. A woman who the night of for going to the mikvah falls out on Shabbos. Fi misachzu for chayfefetz bechamin beveis hamerchat kotem tefilasa. And she washes herself and bathes in hot bath in the bathhouse before she goes into the mikvah. It's better that her husband light and bench the Shabbos candles. Or she should make a condition before she lights the candles. She does not accept upon herself Shabbos with the lighting of the candles until she finishes washing her and bathing in hot water.
I didn't think there was a mikveh for women on Friday.
Well, sometimes if the day when they become clean, they're supposed to go to the mikvah. That happens to be Friday, then I don't know. Maybe some communities they don't have. But seemingly there are certain, if the Maran's breaking this, obviously certain communities, they do go to the mikvah. It's not an issue.
Right.
Saying in this case, again, in Ashkenazi communities, it's more severe. They say that only a man can make a light conditionally, and a woman can't. So, but Rabbi Avadia holds that a woman could make the condition, and therefore she can make this condition, and not accepting Shabbos. But if she can go to the mikvah right before Shabbos. The place of where the candles should be lit. The candles that should be in the place in the dining room or where they're going to eat, or the place where they use regularly, the parlor where people hang out, they relax, gather together. But if you're going to light the candles in a place where in a room that's not used in regularly, that there's no obligation to have light there, because if there won't be light there in that room, since it's not really used, it'll be perfectly fine. No one will miss it being lit. In that case, the lighting candles in that room doesn't help to be yotze the mitzvah of lighting candles for Shabbos. Isha chayla there's a woman who's sick, or a woman in childbirth who just gave birth. She's lying in her bed. They could bring for her before the candles to be lit for Shabbos, and put it either in a chair or a stool before her. She bent and light the candles. And then they could take the candles from there and put in the room where they're going to eat. Ashon Nahagam Bate Milan. This what people do, the way how they conduct themselves in hotels, what they usually do in hotels. I mean, Shulchan Miyuchah Perusbar, to put a table aside in the hallway. Chol Nashim Shemis Archais Sham Matlikas, and all the women that are staying in the hotel for Shabbos. Matlikas Neis Bebracha al Shulchan Hazeh. They light the candles and make the bracha on this table. Shara Chadarim Ein Ela Ar HaChashmal, in the other rooms there's only the electric light. HaBracha al Neis Halal Hi Bracha Levatala. The bracha on these candles over there in the hallway is a bracha Levatala, which is something we don't do. It's a bracha for no reason that doesn't accomplish anything, which is forbidden to do. Say. In particular, since the main honor and pleasure of Shabbos, the Einik Shabbos, which is the reason why we light candles in honor of Shabbos, is meant to be in the place where the Suda will be, where the meal will be. Therefore, if it's not possible to light candles in the room that they're staying because of suspect of a fire might break out, for whatever reasons the hotel might have to forbid lighting candles in the rooms, they should just turn on the light of the electric light for Shabbos and make the bracha then. If it's already on, turn it off and then turn it back on and make the bracha. Should likaner Shabbos, a woman that lit the Shabbos candles, and after she lit the candles for Shabbos, she feels thirsty. She may drink water to quench her thirst, or she even drink tea or coffee without a problem. As long as the sun has not gone down.
What was the problem with that? What would have been the problem with that?
Because once you accept upon yourself Shabbos, you're not allowed to eat or drink until you make Kiddush.
Uh-huh.
Saying in this case, as long as it's still daylight, for short daylight outside, it's not an issue, and you could drink water, even tea and coffee. Even according to the opinion that says that with lighting candles you automatically accept Shabbos, even according to those opinions, it's not an issue to drink water, tea, or coffee. Shmanim for psilos, oils and wicks. Psilos shematlikim bal chavet Shabbos. The wicks that we use in order to light them in honor of Shabbos, particularly as psila and nimshachas achar shemen shetadlik yava, need to be wicks that draw the oil out lit. I mean, this is the fire that draws that's drawn from the oil on the wick should be a nice fire, a nice bright fire, even fire. And so did the oils that we use them for Shabbos. Should be oil that the oil is able, that the wick is able to draw from nicely. However, a wick that does not draw after the oil, could come, for example, meshi, a tzemer, like for example, silk or wool or linen that doesn't burn well, doesn't give an even fire. And so to oil that doesn't allow the wick to draw after it well. For example, either castor oil or oil made from the fat of a tail of sheep tail, or tallow. With these oils, we don't light them for Shabbos. We don't use them to light Shabbos candles. So mishum gzeira shema out of concern that maybe the There'll be a weak light. V'yites Hashemen lepsila b'shal Shabbat l'shtamish l'era, and he will start playing with the wick in order to get a better fire out of it at the time that he comes to use the light. And our wax candles that surround the wick that we have, it's no issue to use them to light the candles for Shabbos. However, it's more fitting and proper to use oil candle-based candles for shemen size mitzvah mimuchor. And the best and the most ideal option is to use olive oil. Lighting the candles with cotton. Even according to the sages of the Talmud, we don't light with the cotton. Since we've refined the oil that's fitting, meaning the oils, the basic oil we have these days, it's like fitting, it's clean oil. And therefore the oil draws after the wick well, meaning it allows the wick to give a nice burn and shines brightly. It's fitting and it's not an issue to use cotton wicks in oil these days. And you don't have to be concerned about something that was established by previous Beis Din, that another Beis Din is coming to be mat, to make it permissible. Usually it's an issue that if one Beis Din comes and says something is usher, you can't have a later Beis Din unless if it's greater number and power and wisdom to undo what the previous Beis Din says. But he says, Maran says here it's not an issue. Shani Hacha, here it's different. Shatam Shal Agzer Yadu Al, because the reason for this Gezerah for this rule is known. The reason for this Gezerah not to use cotton is because the wick doesn't draw well afterwards. And now these days, that the oil has been refined very well. It's very well refined. And as a result, the wick does draw afterwards well. There's no issue. I can also add that you need another basin to make it permissible. That's only in the beginning, it was only something permissible, asaru, and then the previous basin made it forbidden. Then it stands in it being asur. Only if you had another basin that was greater, that was able to make it permissible again. However, in the beginning, was used for in the mitzvah. And the Chachamim had, for whatever reasons, they had to be bottled this mitzvah. When the reason is no longer exists, then you have no reason to continue being to annihilate the mitzvah, to make the mitzvah bottled, that you shouldn't be able to use it. Because now the reason doesn't exist anymore, so now there's no reason to forbid the mitzvah they could have done. So now that the reason for not using cotton doesn't exist anymore, so now there's not an issue to use cotton. In King Gam Khan, also, if so, even here, Sheish mitzvah about Lakas and Neres by Shabbos, Chvat Shabbos, since it's a mitzvah to light candles on Erev Shabbos in honor of Shabbos, since the reason for lighting with cotton is bottled, doesn't exist anymore, Since these days it's very well refined. Well, different the reason to make him permissible stands on its feet again. Given sheyesh mitzvah glisa, since there's a mitzvah to light with them, and therefore it's not an issue. Paraffin candles that nowadays they shine brightly, like as it's fitting. You don't have to change them. You don't have to do anything with them while you light them. According to the whole world, it's permissible to light them in honor of Shabbos. Shabbos. One who lights Shabbos candles needs to light most of the wick that comes out of the candle. So immediately he moves his hands from the fire. The fire that comes up from it should shine nice, evenly, brightly. But Lakas Menorah is Beis HaMikdash, just like the lighting of the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. Whoever is able to acquire either oil or wax candles. For sure, it's more fitting, and it's better to fulfill the obligation of lighting candles on Shabbos and Yom Tov through this requirement, through these means. Since it's recognized a special recognition that these have been led, particularly in honor of Shabbos and Yom Tov. And fitting to have in mind when the bracha before you light the candle. Also, the bracha should also have an effect. Should also be inclusive in the bracha. Should be the electric light that you will turn on afterwards. Anyhow, in a situation where the person is not able to acquire for whatever reasons in any way or any wax or oil candles, you can make a bracha and light through turning on the electric light, and it's not an issue. And through them, you're yet to the obligation of lighting. A candle that you made a bracha on it and lit it in honor of Shabbos. Also, it's forbidden to touch it. Even if Shabbos has not fully started yet as a result of Shkia, or even if the person has not accepted upon himself Shabbos. Even in such a case, you shouldn't touch it's forbidden to touch the candles. Since the ner has been set aside, the candle has been set aside for the mitzvah, so it becomes muksa. You don't light with the fat of the tail fat or tallow, either, but both of it's congealed or if it's like liquid. And we made it liquid and mixed with kosher oil that's kosher to light with. Then it's not an issue, and since it's mixed with proper oil, then it's not an issue to light with them. You can light with them. For who shall and that's as long as it didn't return back to gel. It's forbidden if it did return to gel, its gel state, is forbidden to light with them, even though it's mixed with other oil. Oils and wicks and oils that the sages have forbidden to light with them. If he did end up lighting with them, if the person did end up lighting with them, also it's forbidden for you to use their light. Even if he had someone to put up a guard to watch over him, that he shouldn't touch the wick, so he shouldn't to try to fix it. In such a case, it's still forbidden to use the light up from these candles. And even though in regards to the Isser, to read by candle, that the sages forbade to use the candlelight to read. That the sages said that if you have a guard, if you put up a guard to watch over you, that if they notice you getting ready to try to fix the light, the candle, that they'll tell you, don't you be careful, be mindful not to touch it. In such case, when you light normal candles, the Chacham said it's not an issue. You could use it. You could use the candlelight to read. In this case, when you use something of forbidden oil, something that Chacham said you should not use, and you used it anyways to light, in that case it's different, and the guard does not work. Because the whole entire concept of it being forbidden to read by the light of a candle, because maybe you'll want to fix a candle. It's a very the suspecting of that someone might want to fix a candle. The suspicion of something like this happening, the beginning was a very distant suspicion. But they still, you wanted to guard just in case. So the reason why they made it mutter, they made it permissible if you have a guard, is because in such a case it's a very distant suspicion. But in the case where you're using wicks or oil that's forbidden to use them to begin with, you can't make it permissible just because you have a guard over there. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. Do not feel about Erev Shabbos, the laws of davening on Erev Shabbos. We have the custom saying the Perek Pametlik, which is the second Perek of Mishnais in the tractate of Shabbos. And Sfardim say this chapter of Pametlik from the tractate of Mishnais before they daven Ma'ariv on Shabbos night, and this is proper. Shabbos. The custom is not to say the chapter of Bamet like on Yom Tov that falls out of Shabbos. And so you don't say Bamet on Shabbos of Chanukah. And not in Shabbos that falls out the middle on Chol Hamoed, which is the middle of Yom Tov, middle days of Yom Tov. Not in Shabbos that falls out on Yom Tov itself. The chapter of Bamed Looking, we also say it in the house of a mourner. The cantor who's davening the evening prayers of Ma'ariv, he opens up by saying Ma'ariv on Shabbos by saying Kaddish and singing Kaddish with in honor of Shabbos with a tune. So do the brachas, the blessings that we say of Shema, meaning the two brachas we say before Kriyas Shema. It's good to say them with a pleasant tune and voice. It's good that every one of the congregation should stand in their place when the Shliach Tzibur says Kadesh. In time when we say Baruch it's good to have in mind to accept the points of the spirit of holiness of the extra neshama that's imbued upon us in Shabbos, accepted at this time. Tefillas average Shleil Shabbos, Tefillah Ma'ariv of Shabbos night. Ein pasuk b'pasuk v'hurachim v'chaparvin. You don't open up Ma'ariv by saying the pasuk of Hurachim like we do on the weekdays. And so does the custom not to say it. If you made a mistake on Leil Shabbos and the bracha of Shkivenu, which is the last bracha we say before Shemoneh Esrei, which on Shabbos we the version of the bracha is shorter and different than during the week. So if you say it if you forget it, you say the weekly version of the bracha Shkivenu on Shabbos. When he says Baruch Atah Hashem Niskar, when he's about to finish the bracha, he remembers that Shabbos and that he said the wrong blessing. He should finish off the rest of the bracha with the Sukkah Shalom, which is the way how you ended off on Shabbos. Even though you're able to say that you're not finishing sealing the bracha like the way how the bracha ends, which is what we normally do. Normally, when you make a bracha and you end it off with Baruch Atah Hashem, which is the seal of the bracha, you want to seal the bracha the way how you end off the bracha, which is the last thing you say before you say Baruch Atah Hashem. And even though this is, if you say the weekday Hashkivenu, you end it with the Shabbos, you'll seal it with the Shabbos seal. It's not the seal is not the way how you end it. Even though this is the case, I already seen because he's finishing the bracha saying, and you should guard us with our comings and goings. And now he's about to say that the seal was, and you spread the company of peace. So you're not sealing it the way you ended the bracha. Even though this is the case, for Eshet Shmira, it's not an issue. Eshet Shmira Chur Pirs Shalom Chud. Even though there are two different things that talking about being guardians and peace are two separate subjects. You shouldn't pay much attention to it. You shouldn't be makpid on this. Because this concept that the chasima, that the seal needs to be like the way how you end it, does not interfere in B'dei Eved once it happens. When the situation is like not under complete control. But Ma'ariv of Shabbos, but B'chon Hashkivenu, in Ma'ariv of Shabbos, in the bracha of Hashkivenu, after you say the words for Hagim B'Adeinu, Sayim praise Aleinu al Yishleim Ircha Sukkah Shalom. Baruch Atah Hashem, I pray Sukkah Shalom Aleinu al Kol Amay Yisrael al Yishleim Amen. Ve'eni Chosim K'may Ariv Shalom Mecha, and you don't seal the bracha like the weekdays, which on the weekdays you say Shemes Amay Salad. Shabbos ain't so tzichin because on Shabbos we don't need a daven for protection. Because Shabbos atzma he has shemes ourselves, since Shabbos itself is what protects over us. So therefore, we don't need to ask for protection. Nusach anachem price aleinu sukkah shalom ba'chatasha price sukkah shalom aleinu v'chulu. Proper nusach, the proper way to daven, the proper version of davening the bracha on Shabbos nights is the words price aleinu sukkah shalom, spread upon us the company of peace ba'chatasha price sukkah shalom aleinu, and so forth. So this is the version that the Beis Yosef writes in Shulchan Aruch. And so too is in the Shar Kavanos of the Arizal Hachai. Not like those who say a full version of the bracha and then they end off Sukkah Rachmin V'Shalom. Tfilas Arvis Pilal Shabbos Ayim V'Atakitasha. In the Shemona Esrei of Shabbos night, you say Atakitasha, you have sanctified. Say in saying that Tfilah Psukim V'Chaylu Shemayim V'Aretz, which is the Psukim that talks about the first Shabbos is in the world and part in the end of the 6 days of creation. And he did not say that and he ended the bracha Mekadesh HaShabbos. And we don't make him go back. Those who say there are those who say that the meaning that Ma'ariv in the Shemona Esrei of Ariv in the main middle bracha of Shabbos, you say V'yinuchu Va, and you rest in her. Shachos Va, you say in him, which is male him. B'mincha Vam, you say Vam in plural. And the later authorities bring Sheken Goyre Harizal Kaimu Benin. So do the Arizal Chai, that's how he did it, said it. So we'll say B'davar, and it's written, and there are deep reasons for this, saying this particular order. So it is the conduct of those who go in the deep ways of the Arizal Hachai, particularly to say at night, bow in feminine language, in the morning and Musar say bow in masculine terms, and Mincha to say vam in plural. And you should not change this minhag, this conduct. Only that in Mincha, instead of saying Shabbos Kachecha, you say Shabbos is plural Kachecha. You should say Kachecha. They should be sanctified. You should rest in them. He's not going to limit Tfilas Arvis below Shabbos for Yinuchu Va. Those who say, who have the conduct the minhag that by night they say, of night they say Yinuchu Va. Shachas B'Mincha V'Yinuchu Va. And Shachas and Mincha they say V'Yinuchu Va. They say nothing commercial kasano, and more proper is like we've written. That night you say Va, but Yom Vai. And by Mincha Vam. An individual who lends his davening, who extends his davening, he takes his time davening a bit at night. When he's saying Al-Kain, which is the last section of Shemona Esrei, says after Tefillah at the end of Shemona Esrei, he hears that the congregation is starting to say Vayichulu, which is a constant to say it together. Since you're giving witness on the creation and you want to give it together, like witnesses usually say witness together at the same time. If he's in the middle of a kind of, so you should not stop to answer, say